Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Mega Man X2 for the Super Nintendo, brought to us by Capcom. The second game in the Mega Man X series, X2 continues the great gameplay that we saw in the first game, but presents us with some new gameplay challenges, as well as some new equipment to try out. In X2, X is now the leader of the Maverick Hunters, as the Maverick Rebellion continues even though Sigma has been defeated. A new group has been put together called the X-Hunters, made up of 3 specific Mavericks, who have also stolen the parts of Zero, who was destroyed in X1. So here we go with Mega Man X2 for the Super Nintendo. Just like we saw in X1, we actually have an introduction stage to get us into the game. X has traveled to a Reploid factory where supposedly the Mavericks have made a hideout out of it, and it's time to destroy the last of the rebellion. Thankfully, the great controls from Mega Man X1 continue in full, without too many adjustments to it, and most of those adjustments will be later on in the game when we get some new equipment. You can jump off walls, you can speed through, as well as charge up your Mega Buster, so you can take out enemies with some powerful shots. Working your way through the Reploid factory is rather easy. Only a few enemies are going to really get in your way, and once you reach down to this area, it's time to face off with the first boss of the game. This huge robot looks like he's going to be a real troublesome enemy to get through. However, using your charged up blast, you can see you take away a lot of health really fast. Just stay on the top platforms and keep jumping up and blasting him in the head, and you may have to dodge his hands once or twice, but it really will only take a few seconds to destroy him. After completing the first stage, we go on to our stage selection screen for the first time. We have 8 levels to travel to, and you actually have a pretty cool map selection screen where you get to see where on the map the level takes place, as well as a little bit of info on it. The first level that we're going to start off with is Wire Sponges level. Wire Sponges level takes place in a weather control center, so we're going to see some different types of weather throughout the level. Start off by jumping up the left wall and you'll find the first heart container of the game. Just like Mega Man X1, we have a lot of stuff to collect. You have heart containers, which will give you a little bit of extra health, as you saw I just grabbed my first one a little bit ago. As well as we have body parts to grab, which will upgrade different body parts on X and give us some pretty cool abilities from that. As well as you have 4 energy tanks. There's the first energy tank you can get in the game by climbing up here and making sure you grab it on the far right platform before moving on to the elevators. Anytime you get extra health, once your health is already at full, it will go into one of the energy tanks. So you can actually have 4 full sets of health available to you that you can use to replenish your health at any point. One of the cool things about the game, and just like most of the Mega Man games, and we'll be using it throughout, is if you're being hurt and flashing while you have that brief seconds of invincibility, you can actually land on spikes and be able to continue unharmed and not being killed by those spikes. After jumping over or trying to attack the large scorpion enemy, you reach the first boss chamber of the game. Like in most of my Mega Man playthroughs, I'm going to use just the Mega Buster on the bosses the first time through. I'll be using their weaknesses against them when we refight them later on in the game. Wire Sponge is a rather simple enemy to contend with. He'll climb and attach himself to the ceiling, in which case you can get some great shots in on him. However, you will have to watch out for the little seedlings that he throws out that then grow on the ground. Just use a few normal shots to take out the seedlings once they sprout on the ground so you don't run into them. When he swings his blade around, you won't be able to shoot at him. However, when he stops, you can actually get a charged-in shot and be able to dodge away from the claw once he throws it out at you. Just keep using the walls to your advantage and watch out for the seedlings until you get his health real low, in which case he will then charge up. Once he becomes red, you'll see a spike come out of the top of his head and he'll summon lightning bolts, which can be a little tricky to dodge. Try to do your best to stand in between 2 of the lightning bolts and then continue fighting him as normal. Once he gets taken out, we've defeated the first Maverick of Mega Man X2, and we can move on to the next stage. For our next Maverick, we're going to be facing off with Wheel Gator, which is actually one of the most important levels for us during this run. Wheel Gator's level contains the first of the weapon chambers that we're going to be getting. These chambers will give us upgrades of different body parts, and this one contains the arm cannon upgrade, which allows us to do a supercharge up ability that can really do damage to enemies. Wire Sponge's ability is actually really useful, as it throws out a little claw that allows us to attach through enemies as well as attach to walls. This jump right here is extremely tricky, but if you're able to do it with Wire Sponge's ability, you'll be able to get up here and grab yourself the arm cannon ability. This allows us to now get a double charge up, which we can actually throw out a full charge blast as well as another stream of attack right afterwards, as well as be able to use up the charge ability for all of our weapons, giving them a secondary ability. Jump on top of these moving platforms, which will then start moving to the left. After only a few seconds on the top one, you'll have to jump to another one below, so you don't end up running into the wall and get knocked down into the spikes below. Keep moving through and you'll come to one of the first mechs of the game. This mech is a little bit different from the one from X1, as it actually has some blades on the front of it and can do some pretty cool charged up moves. It also happens to have great movability as well as ability to hover. Right here is probably one of the trickiest things we're going to do in the game. Use this enemy over to the right, don't destroy it, instead wait for it to fire straight at you and jump up into one of its projectiles and get hit. Then, while you're in your brief period of invulnerability, jump along the spikes to the left and grab yourself the heart container. There is, of course, other ways in order to get that one, but You can get it on your first playthrough through the stage, and you can get it pretty early on by doing that way. You then have some more of those moving platforms to ride along. This time, however, you will have some enemies that try to get into your way. When you're on the deck of the ship, be sure to make a big jump here and you can bypass a lot of the different pods trying to hit you. Then, walk into the room to the left. After one more mech, you'll then make it to the boss door for Wheel Gator. Wheel Gator has a pretty interesting battlefield. You'll have to battle him while being submerged in sludge. Wheel Gator will then submerge himself underneath, and the whole ground will start shaking around. It's best to start climbing onto the walls, and when he fires out one of his wheels at you, be sure to jump off the wall and go over it so you don't run into it. When he comes up from the ground, that'll be your opportunity to fire some shots at him. He'll then shoot out some projectiles that you'll have to try to do your best to dodge, in which case he'll then throw out some more wheels. With some luck, you'll be able to get the wheels to bounce off the wall and over your head, and you won't actually have to jump over them. Be sure to be out of the water or make a quick jump over the sludge right as it steadies out, just so you don't end up getting grabbed by Wheel Gator when he tries to jump up and grab you. After a few more shots, we take out Wheel Gator and we can move on to the next Maverick. At this point, the other Mavericks that are going to be our main enemies of the game actually start to attack us by going into random levels that we have to travel to. We then have to locate a special hidden room where we actually can do battle with that X-Hunter for that particular stage and get a piece of Zero back. You actually get a slightly different ending when you actually save all of Zero's parts before you end up traveling to the final set of levels. The next Maverick we're going to do battle with is Bubble Crab. At the beginning of the stage, travel through a little cave area, beware of a few of the bat enemies that are going to try to attack you, and then jump down into the water. When you reach the bottom here, a large fish vehicle will come out of the wall and start moving towards the right. It has a searchlight on the bottom of it, and if you get anywhere within the light, it ends up throwing a laser at you. Do a long jump over to here to climb up this wall, and then do another jump all the way over to the left in order to jump onto this platform and work your way up to grab the next heart container. Once you grab it, work your way back down to the bottom and try to be careful of the giant fish vehicle, as it will try to get in your way and hit you a few times with that laser, which can get quite annoying. In order to get the next sub-tank item, you'll have to use a little bit of a glitch. On that little slope right there, if you walk towards the left just slightly and jump up, you'll somehow be able to get a longer jump upwards, allowing you to climb onto the wall and work your way up to the sub-tank. You can then bounce your way across the top of the water over and over again, so that you can make it over to the right so you can actually get to its platform. After a little bit farther, you'll make it into this chamber where the water will drain, and you can actually continue on for the rest of the level until we meet with Bubble Crab. A few robots will get in your way as you make your way through this little area, but nothing too challenging. As we enter Bubble Crab's lair, you'll start to see water will rise up and get about halfway through the screen. This will continue going up and down as the battle goes through. When Bubble Crab is in his bubble shield, you won't be able to hurt him. However, doing a long running jump over him will cause him to try to attack you, releasing his bubble shield and actually allow you to do some damage to him. So doing a big jump over him will stop him from doing the bubble and allow you to land and try to attack him. You'll just have to be quick about it so you don't end up running into his giant blades that he kind of shoots out of the sides of him. His only other real move is that he can sometimes shoot out a ring of bubbles in your direction, which you'll have to do a quick jump over or dodge in order to avoid getting hit. But for the most part, as long as you can get used to doing the big running jump over him to stop his bubble shield, you shouldn't have too much trouble and you can defeat Bubble Crab and move on to the next Maverick. The next boss to deal with that we're going to fight is Flame Stag. Now this is the first time we're actually going to have an X-Hunter also in the level with us. So we'll have to stop by his chamber, I'll show you where that's located, battle him and get Zero's part back, as well as defeat Flame Stag at the end of the level. Flame Stag's level takes place in a volcanic area, so there's lots of lava that can be really dangerous, including an area we'll have to run up quickly before the lava overflows on us. Climb up this long mountain at the beginning of the stage, and then jump to this vehicle. You can then use the vehicle to jump up to the left platform, in which case you can get the next sub-tank. After grabbing the sub-tank, work your way inside. After a few robots, you'll end up landing on this platform. Lava is going to quickly start to rise. Be sure to equip Wheel Gator's move because we're going to need it as we work our way quickly upwards. You'll have to stop on a platform and defeat an enemy with a fully charged Wheel Gator move, grab the heart tank, and then immediately run backwards and work your way back up the side before the lava ends up catching up with you. That can be really tricky and you're going to have to be really fast on the buttons, and it may take a time or two to get used to that. When we make it here, use the vehicle to climb up to this set of rocks and let him run into it. This will allow you to get up here and get into the battle with the first of the X-Hunters. Agile, the first of the X-Hunters that we're fighting, can be really tricky. He has a sword that he'll use in order to hit you, and you immediately have to jump up the left side of the wall as he comes charging towards you with his blade. Thankfully, none of the moves he's going to do to us do a ton of damage, but you're going to have to get used to dodging so you can actually hit him. Do fully charged up moves to him in order to do damage, as well as avoid anytime he flies up into the air with his sword, he'll send a giant arcing blade towards you, in which case you'll either have to try to get under it or over it before it runs into you. Thankfully though, every time he does any moves for the most part, he'll have a few seconds of pause, where he'll just wait against the wall, allowing you to fire shots at him. Once you drain his health, he'll give us some parting words as well as the first set of Zero parts. If all that wasn't busy enough for you during this stage, we still of course have to deal with the actual Maverick at the end of the level before we can actually complete this stage. Climb up here and try to do your best not to take a whole lot of damage because we'll need as much health as we can when we have the Maverick coming up. Thankfully, the gas that's coming out of the chambers doesn't actually hurt you defaultly. However, if the little dragon enemy ends up getting near it, it can end up lighting it on fire, in which case then, of course, it can do some damage. When you make it to the top, do a large jump over to the right and enter the boss chamber. Even though we've had some really tricky platforming, we've had to make some fast movements and already fight an X-Hunter, the good news is, Flame Stag actually ends up being pretty easy. He starts off the battle by jumping onto the left wall. Immediately run over to the right wall and charge up a blast, and you can deliver it to him as soon as he lands. For the most part, it just comes down to moving back and forth between the left and right walls each and every time he jumps up. He does have a few moves that you'll have to deal with. When he charges forward, you'll have to jump up on the wall that you're closest to and jump over him so you don't end up running into the flame, as well as he does do some fire punches where he'll throw a fireball right at you, which you can jump, and then he'll throw another one up towards you when you jump, in which case it will then hit the wall and start traveling up that wall. So just get used to going from the left side of the wall to the right, back and forth, and getting used to that little pattern that he likes to do up and down the walls, and you should have no problem delivering really powerful blasts to him and draining his health. Once he's defeated, we've completed half of the Mavericks, and we have 4 more to go. Next up, we're going to be traveling to the junkyard to battle Morph Moth. This is going to be the first level where we're actually going to have to come back later in order to get one of the items. Right here, you'll actually have to freeze that enemy and jump on top of them to get up there so that you can get the heart container for this stage, but we'll be getting that later. At this spot, you want to use Wheel Gator's charged up move to blast through the ground so that you can travel down here and find this capsule. This is the body armor capsule. Not only do we get new armor with this capsule, we also get a new move, which allows us to absorb hits that we take during battle, and then allows us to unleash that once it's fully charged up into a move that does a lot of powerful damage. We'll only be using that probably one time during the run, and it'll be one of the last bosses of the game. When you enter here, it's time for the first mini-boss of the stage. We'll have to fight this boss actually twice during the level. There's a few different ways to take care of him, but I like to take care of him with a full charged up shot as soon as he starts spawning. When you see a little puff of smoke come from his chest, you know you've defeated the first part, but you also have to defeat the bug that comes out as well, before he ends up flying back underground and summoning another creature. As soon as you go down this ladder, if you travel to the right where the first enemy is, that's the location of one of the secret battle rooms where you could do a battle with one of the X-Hunters had he been located in the stage when we were here. Since we were able to get Flame Stag's move, you can see that it allows you to move really quickly and fast through a lot of the levels, and allows you to bulldoze right through enemies. As we enter this chamber, it's time for the second fight with that enemy that we fought earlier. Once again, deliver a couple charged up blasts, and you should see that puff of smoke, and then prepare yourself to fight the bug that comes out. After we defeat it, you'll have another small hallway with a lot of bugs in it. Either use charged up blast or Flame Stag's move to get through this until you get to the opposite end where there's going to be a mech guarding the boss door. Morph Moth starts off as a pretty interesting battle. He starts off in actually kind of a pre-evolved form before he actually changes into his moth form. He swings back and forth on his rope, spewing garbage everywhere as he does. This allows you to have a great opportunity to throw in a lot of charged shots while he moves back and forth. When he flies down to the ground, he'll get inside the ground and start moving back and forth in a tornado-like fashion. Hang against one of the walls because you won't be able to hurt him here until he goes back up into the air on the string. Once you've done enough damage to him, he'll fly up into the air and evolve into his true form. This form can be quite dangerous as it flies around, can fire lasers at you, as well as drop pollen on you. Try to get him to come down low towards you and deliver a charged up blast when he stops and stands still, getting ready to fire his laser. You want to be careful that he doesn't actually run into you, because that's probably his most dangerous attack, as it will drain a lot of your health real fast. Once he's done, we move on to the next Maverick. For the next level, we're going to the Central Computer, and this is actually a level we'll see later on in the game as well, in a little bit different form, as we take on Magna Centipede. This level you have to be very careful near the beginning because there's searchlights in the background, and you want to make sure that they don't see you. If they end up seeing you, the different blocks on the sides that you can see at the top will fall down. You'll need this one here to stay still so that you can do a charged up move over here and climb up so that you can grab yourself the heart container for this level. In the next section, you have a series of large blocks that have to move into place. They're always going to move in the same pattern each time you get through this area, but if one catches you, it can end up killing you instantly by crushing you. When you enter this room, you'll have a virtual sword that'll appear for an enemy. You can make this battle really easy, just use Morph Moth's move to get a big cube of trash and throw it at him and he'll be instantly defeated. When traveling down this corridor, you really don't have to worry too much about the enemies seeing you or the alarm going off. This area can get real annoying as you're trying to make your way through with all the fallen blocks. Just try to do your best, and I suggest using Flame Stack's ability to try to bulldoze through some of the blocks. When you make it up here, you're going to have to battle another mini-boss. This one can be a huge pain, and it's probably best if you have some of Flame Stack's moves to use it. However, if that's running pretty low, use Wheel Gator's move because it can deal some pretty good hits over and over again on it while you're trying to dodge its fire. Once he finally blows up, grab whatever he drops and then continue through the corridor. This is another area where using Flame Stag's moves can greatly help as you're trying to get over a bunch of the fallen blocks, as well as get yourself over the gaps that are going to have fallen bridges. When you make it past them though, it's time to battle the boss for this level. Magna Centipede can be a rather tricky battle. Start off by immediately unleashing a full charged up blast if you can, because he'll just stand still and take it from the first shot. He then starts teleporting all around the room. You're gonna pretty much have to wait on the ground and just wait for him to appear fully before you're able to get a shot in. If he appears on the roof, get ready in about the middle of the screen to jump up and attack him, depending upon which ways you're gonna try to sweep down from. The battle may seem rather simple at first, especially considering how much damage you can do with just the Mega Buster. However, once you get his health down pretty low, he'll try to do this gravitational pull move to you, bringing you towards him and poisoning you. This stops you from being able to use any of your charged up moves. At this point, I could fight him with just the Mega Buster firing shots, but just to speed things along, I'm going to get out his weakness, which happens to be Morph Moth's move, and just use that in order to hit the final few hits on him to take him out. We have only 2 Mavericks left, and we're going to start off with Crystal Snail. This level can be tricky to get the items, plus we have to hunt down one of the X-Hunters in this level and take him out to get the second set of 0 parts. As we begin the level, work your way over and you'll see these large hills of ice. There's a gap in between, make sure you jump over that and get inside the mech. Then, ride the mech down to the bottom area, charge it up, and then float over using the hovering ability in order to go get the heart container on the other side. In order to do this properly, you're pretty much going to have to mash the button quite a few times while doing the hover, not just hold the hover button in. You want to keep pressing it so that you can get a longer distance with the hover. Then, you need to take the mech down here, leave it on the spikes, and get this green block to come down and break the purple block that would have prevented you from getting the mech over here. Get back inside the mech and get it over to this area. You'll have to use the side ledge over here in order to get yourself up to the platform up here. You'll then have to do some jumping and hovering in order to break the ice blocks on the left side here. Once you're able to get inside, break a couple more blocks and then jump out of the mech. You'll then have to get on top of these rocket-propelled platforms and work your way up. You won't be able to use the wall to jump up. Get up here to the ladder, and this is the chamber for the X-Hunter battle of this stage. Thankfully, we have a good amount of health as we enter the battle against Surges. Don't let the appearance of Surges being an old guy fool you. He can do some really acrobatic moves here, and he fires all around him every time he jumps in a circle. It's really hard sometimes to dodge any of his projectiles that he fires out, and they do not stop during the course of this fight. So just keep using your charged up blast the best you can and keep firing at him in order to slowly drain his health. Every so often he will drop a mine down, which will get in your way, but thankfully that doesn't hurt you too bad either. The great thing about it is, as long as you've gotten a pretty good amount of heart tanks before battling him, you shouldn't have too much trouble being able to drain his health before yours runs out. Once you've drained all his health, he'll give us the next part of 0 parts, and then we can move on and continue the stage. Be very careful when you leave the area, because immediately in this gap is spikes. Hug the left wall and work your way down so you can get back down to this area safely without landing on the spikes. Then, you can get out our trusty Flame Stag ability to continue working our way through the level. When we reach up here, grab yourself Morph Moth's ability and start charging up some garbage piles to start throwing at this robot located inside this crystal. After only a few hits, about half of your total amount of ability with Morph Moth's junk move, you'll be able to continue. Jump down here, riding the large slant down, and then jump into the large gap. Be sure to hug the left wall and you'll be able to enter another area which will hold another Dr. Light capsule. This one gives us our helmet. The helmet has a search ability, which will allow you to find hidden items that are located inside areas that you normally wouldn't be able to see. It's honestly probably the weakest of the things that we currently have on our body. Jump up here and get the green block to start rolling down, and then quickly get down here and climb the ladder so you don't get crushed by it as it rolls down the hill. After one more giant green block which will try to squash you, you'll then make it to the boss door. Considering all the problems we've had in this stage with all the enemies and having to fight one of the X-Hunters, it's a good thing that Crystal Snail ends up being a pretty easy Maverick to face. As soon as he appears, you won't be able to fire at him right away. He'll just block it and go into his shell. Let him move around in his rocket-propelled shell, and then he'll come down to the ground. He'll give you now a great opportunity to launch some shots at him to do some good damage. Just be careful that as soon as you hit him, he's going to try to fire out his crystal move that ends up freezing you in place, allowing him to charge towards you and do a good amount of damage. The great thing is, he takes so long inside his shell that it'll allow you to fully charge up your Mega Buster and deliver a full charged up shot every time before he ends up exiting the shell. The other annoyance with Crystal Snail is usually when he's weak, he'll sometimes decide to use another move where he actually slows down time, making you go a lot slower than him, which can be a little bit tricky to get used to, and you'll have to time your jumps a little bit differently. However, once you drain his health, we now have only one Maverick to go. The last Maverick we're facing off with is Overdrive Ostrich. He also has the last of the X-Hunters that we have to fight to make sure we get all of Zero's parts before traveling to the final stages of the game. The good thing is, to get to the X-Hunter, it's very easy. At the very beginning of the level, walk over here and then use Wheel Gator's move in order to open up the rocks so that you can get over to the chamber located on the right here. The final X-Hunter that we're going to be doing battle with is Violin. Now, he's this big robot that uses a giant spike mace in order to fight you with. He bounces it all around the room, and you can pretty much see how the pattern's going to work for it. Just get used to the movement of it, because we're actually going to be seeing a very similar boss battle later on against Violin, except there's a little bit of difference in that one. Do your best to avoid the bouncing mace, as it will do a good amount of damage. We're lucky that this battle is taking place early on in the stage, so even if we get hit a few times, it shouldn't hurt us too badly. We should be able to get some more health as the stage goes on. Every once in a while, he will decide to try to shoot out a projectile shot at you, which goes about 5 shots or so from his hand, going in an arcing pattern, so just try to get in between that. After draining his health, Violin runs away just like the other X-Hunters, but we do get the last of the Zero parts. This will get us a little different cutscene than you would had you not gotten the Zero parts, as well as it does change up the ending part of the game. From there on, go back out the room the way we came and start working your way down these ladders. This level ends up being rather enjoyable, but a little bit short because you actually get to play most of it while riding this motorcycle. Keep firing while riding, and you can hold the boost button that you would normally press in order to do the dash, in order to go really fast. When going through, make sure that you do knock down the few bridges that are in your path, or else you will destroy your vehicle. When you get along here on the spikes, be sure to slow down and take your time, and make a quick turn at the end, because you can run into the spikes and instantly die, but you need to go up there in order to get the next heart tank. Right after that, though, come over here, use Wheel Gator's move in order to locate the last of the armor pieces of the capsules. There is one more capsule we'll be getting later on, which is a special capsule hidden in the final stages. Getting the legs will allow us to dash now in mid-air, which is very useful for a few areas of the game. Go down here and enter the boss chamber. Be very careful though, this boss chamber is a little bit different. Inside the room, be sure to jump up onto the rocket, and be sure that you don't accidentally miss the rocket and fall into the gap, because you can die that way. Mega Man will fly up on the rocket, destroying it as it goes up. You'll land, and it's time for the battle with Overdrive Ostrich. Overdrive Ostrich has one of the more unique battlefields to battle him on. Start off the battle by using a full shot as he's going to run towards you. When he uses his running move, if he hits you, you'll end up flying backwards. His other key moves is he'll sometimes do a jump instead of the run, so you can just stand still and he'll jump over you, as well as he'll sometimes shoot out boomerangs. These boomerangs, however, he jumps up in the air and fires them, so as long as you're close to him, they end up going right over your head. His main move that he likes to do, especially when he starts to get a little bit lower on health, is he'll jump up into the air and cause a whole bunch of the boomerangs to rain down on you. Try to do your best to stand in between two of them and get ready to do another charge shot as soon as he lands. Usually near the end of the battle, he'll just keep doing this part over and over again, so just dodge the little boomerangs and launch in a full blast shot to defeat Overdrive Ostrich. After defeating all the Mavericks, we find out the location of the X-Hunter's main base, and we'll be going there soon. That's, of course, the final levels of the game. We also find out that Zero will take a little bit more time to be put back together. Before heading to the final levels, though, we have two stops to make. The first one's going to be going back to Morph Moth stage in the junkyard in order to get the next heart container. Use the freeze ability and then jump on the enemy at the end here in order to get up here and grab the heart container. Once you have it, you can immediately exit the stage. The second stop that we're going to have to make is in the central computer level. I missed one of the sub-tanks there earlier on in the run, and I have to go back there in order to grab that for the full 100% of the game. I could have gotten it while I was there the first time, but unfortunately I forgot about it and I missed it, so I had to come back here now. Thankfully though, it's not very far into the stage. Just go about the normal part of the stage like we did before. It really doesn't matter if they see you because we're not really concerned with the blocks at this point. Once you get to the other big part, be sure of course to watch out for the moving blocks as they're going to try to get in your path. Once you get past this big block, this block will drop down. Jump on top of it and then jump up and use either your air dash or Flame Stag's move in order to get up here and grab the other sub-tank. We now have every item that we need in the game in order to get the 100%, including all the Zero parts. We can now head to the X-Hunter's base and start the final levels of the game. Select the icon in the middle of the bottom row, and we move on to the final levels. In the first level, the final area, travel through going down here, watching out for some bats, and you can use Flame Stag's ability to boost your way through rather easily. There's a good amount of enemies here as well as some spikes, so be careful of those enemies, but you of course could use them to your advantage like I did, to get you invulnerable for a few seconds so you can land on the spikes and make it through quickly. Be careful of this robot that likes to pull the walls close together, of course, because you can get squashed. The first two really aren't too hard to get through, however, we have two more to deal with, and I prefer to take them out before actually traveling up those walls. To do so easily, equip Morph Moth's move and use a junk pile in order to throw it against the wall and destroy the guys so you can make it up the wall easily without having to worry about getting squashed. Here you have a choice of two paths, the upper or lower path. The upper path is the more preferable path because it's a lot easier and less enemies to deal with. When you get here, use another junk cube in order to destroy the robot so you can climb up this section, which is a little tricky without getting squashed. When you make it to the top, use another junk cube if you still have it equipped to destroy the scorpion and then run into the boss room. The boss rooms contain 3 battles first, with each of the X-Hunters, a more advanced version of each X-Hunter. We start off with a rematch against Violin. This rematch against Violin is very similar to the one we already had. There's 2 new platforms though that will appear randomly and move about as the battle continues. This causes a giant maze ball to bounce around a bit differently and can sometimes get a little bit troublesome. The thing is though, he takes pretty much the exact same damage as he did before, so just use your charged up shots and watch out for the mace ball the best you can in order to hit him. Sometimes he will jump in the air and unleash another shot with his hands, like he did in the first battle, but this time he uses 10 shots and uses both set of hands. Once we're finally able to drain all his health, we finally defeat Violent, he'll explode, and we can move on to the next level. The second of the X-Hunter base starts off with a water section. Drop down in it and then use Flame Stag's move in order to barrel your way through the water, as well as you can just fire straight shots with it and destroy the fish robots located underwater. Try to do your best to climb up the wall. Most of the enemies will try to get in your way, however you can use different moves that you've gathered throughout the level in order to try to hit them. When you get down here, you'll either have to wait for the platforms to move back and forth, or you can use Flame Stag's fully charged up move in order to barrel your way underneath of them. When you get here though, unfortunately there's no way to really get up here easily. We'll have to wait a few seconds for the platform to come back down so that we can get on it. Once it finally comes back down, jump on top of it and then get over to the left side as it goes up so you can watch out for the flame. As soon as you pass the first flame, be sure to jump up to the other side so you can avoid the second flame. Then, drop down over the spikes and get one more mech in your path before you end up entering the boss chamber. This is the only time that we're going to be using that super charged up move that we got for getting that new armor. Be sure to equip it and then jump to the middle platforms. This is our rematch against Surges. To make this battle a heck of a lot easier, immediately unleash the move and destroy all the cannons that he has set up. He'll then move closer to you. Be sure that you're not standing on the far right platform anymore, because that one will get destroyed and you'll end up falling down into the spikes. You then can use the other platforms to move up and down in order to fire full charged up blast right at Surges' face. These blasts can get a little bit tricky in order to hit directly on Surges sometimes, so it'll take a little bit getting used to in order to actually hit him directly where you want to sometimes. Thankfully though, the projectile that he does fire out really does minimal damage every time it hits you, so you'll have plenty of time to just keep firing at him in order to drain his health. With him defeated, Surges explodes and we move on to the next level. The third level from the X-Hunter's main base is the one where we actually have to take our time a little bit because we need full health in order to get the final special secret item. Start working your way through and try to do your best to take the least amount of damage as you can. Hopefully by this point in the game you do have at least some health built up in one of your sub-tanks so that you can replenish it when the time comes. Work your way through and get used to moving these platforms because you'll have to move quite a few of them during this stage. When you get up here, freeze the bat so you can use him as a platform in order to get up to the next section. Then, let the 2 other bats come over towards you near the wall and fire at them so that you can get up to this wall and climb up this ladder. Thankfully, they give us a decent amount of health and a couple enemies to deal with here. Take out the enemies and freeze the bats if you need to in order to land on them so you can get over the spikes. Here can be really tricky. Use Flame Stag's move in order to charge forward, and then as soon as you drop, do a speed dash in air in order to get over here. Then, replenish your health if you have any damage and fall down. The 4th giant square gray block has the secret room. After getting in the capsule, you unlock the most powerful move in the game. You get Ken from Street Fighter's Shuriken. And you perform this move the same way you perform it in Street Fighter. The only thing is that you must have full health in order to use it. After a few more areas of spikes, you come to the boss room and our rematch against Agile. Now this fight is definitely a lot different than the one we first fought him in. He's in this giant space contraption above us, and we have to climb up the walls in order to fire at him. He then will send missiles going opposite one another on both sides of the walls, in which case you can easily get over them by hanging on the walls. After a while, he'll send out 2 giant walls of spikes into both sides. After a few seconds, they then fall, except for where he's currently sitting. So you have to stand directly underneath them in order to avoid getting hit. Thankfully though, they're not an instant death like a lot of the spikes in the game, so it won't do too much damage to us here. Just do your best to avoid these spikes and then keep charging up full blast shots so that you can climb up the wall and deliver them to him. Once you drain all his health, we've defeated all 3 of the X-Hunters, and we can move on to the next level. The 4th X-Hunter main base stage is a staple in the Mega Man series, and that is a boss rush. Enter the capsule on the right side and it takes you to a room filled with other capsules, each of which takes you to another rematch against one of the Mavericks from earlier in the game. I'm going to start off by going in the right bottom capsule to fight Magna Centipede. Be sure to use Morph Moth's junk cubes in order to do some severe damage to him. The strategy against them pretty much remains the exact same as it did before, so just use these cubes each and every time instead of a full charged up blast to do more damage to them than usual. After defeating a Maverick, you'll be teleported back into the main chamber where the capsule you had previously entered being destroyed. Then, choose the next capsule you wish to go into. At any point, if you need health, you can travel to the top part of this area. There's 4 large amounts of health that you can get, so you can rebuild your health a little bit. Next up, we do battle with Flame Stag, so get out Bubble Crab's move. This is really easy. Fire directly at him, and every time you hit him with Bubble Crab's move, he'll try to throw a fireball at you. So just jump right over it and keep hitting him. This battle will only take a few seconds. Next up is Bubble Crab, and we're going to be using Wheel Gator's move. So grab that out and use it in order to break his bubble force field that he sets up around them. Use the same strategy as you did before in order to jump over him, so you can avoid trying getting hit by his normal attacks. This battle will take a little bit longer than Flame Stag's, but shouldn't be any trouble whatsoever. Next up is Crystal Snail. Get out Magna Centipede's bombs and fire one directly at him. It'll cause his shell to fly off of him and cause him to fly forward, so be sure to jump over him when he flies over to the left because it can hurt you. You can see though it does a great deal of damage to him, so just keep firing at these whenever you can in order to hurt him. Every so often he will jump into the air and try to do his other big charge move where he calls his time to slow down. For our rematch against Wire Sponge, we're going to be getting out the move that we got from Overdrive Ostrich. Fire at him and you end up directly hitting him and can actually go through his whirling blade that he likes to use. Just keep hitting him over and over again every time he jumps into the air, and it'll only take a minute or so to drain all his health. For the rematch against Overdrive Ostrich, get out Crystal Snail's move. Fire directly at him and it'll freeze him. Once he breaks through, he'll jump in the air and instantly try to go for his big boomerang move. If you time it correctly, you can hit him every time he jumps into the air before he's actually able to fire it. Just keep moving backwards every time you do this. However, once he gets off screen when he jumps up in the air, you won't be able to hit him, so just travel backwards and start heading the opposite direction. Next up, we have Morph Moth. Now his weakness is Flame Stag's move, so get that out and start firing at him as he swings back and forth. You should be able to hit him 4 or 5 times before he ends up dropping down off his web and starts moving through the garbage. At that point, you should have about half of his health already taken away. Be sure to dodge the Trash Tornado while he's underground, and then be sure as soon as he starts going back up, start hitting him again with the flame. Even when he transforms back into his real form, Just keep using Flame Stag's move in order to hit him as he gets low to the ground. Just try to do your best to dodge having any direct contact with him, of course, because that is his most dangerous weapon. For our final rematch, we have Wheel Gator, and we're going to be getting out Wire Sponge's move. Dodge the wheel at first and wait for him to come out of the ground, but be sure not to get grabbed by him. Then, immediately hit him with Wire Sponge's move. The timing for this can be really tricky, but if you can master it, you can end up stopping him from ever going back down underneath the ground, and you can just keep hitting him over and over again and take away all his health. After defeating all the Mavericks, we get an ominous message from an old friend and we move on to the next level. The final stage of the game takes place at the central computer, where we originally battled Magna Centipede. Start off the level the same way that we've done every time so far. Just run through and try to do your best to avoid the spotlights. Thankfully though, you won't have to travel really too far into the level in order to get to the boss chamber. When we reach the boss chamber, however, this is where the differentials come in from whether or not you collected all the zero parts. Had you not saved all of Zero's parts, he wouldn't have shown up, and instead you would have fought the real Zero. Once you defeated him, then you would have had the scene of him running off to the computer, and you dropping down to fight Sigma. Not surprisingly, being the final boss, Sigma is a real pain. Instead of using the sword that he used in the first game, he now has claws on his hand. He'll charge forward trying to sweep at you, and then he'll bounce off the walls, and then, after a few seconds, he'll reappear and drop down straight at you. This may give you an opportunity to actually deliver a full charged up shot at him. However, just shoot one fireball at him and then immediately start dodging. After he does his pink arcing fire shot that you'll have to dodge, that is another opportunity to deliver hits to him. If you really want to make the battle simple though and make it last only a few seconds, deliver Ken Shuriken move that we learned earlier on just a few levels ago, and you'll defeat him in only 2 shots. Now it's time for the final boss battle of the game. Sigma reappears now as a computer form and has some really powerful and annoying moves. He uses a large laser move that will blast the whole ground from the full screen from left to right. The only way to really dodge this is getting up on a wall and then dashing over him. He can also summon older enemies that we've been seeing throughout the game. After dodging it overhead, you'll then have the opportunity to deliver a shot to him. But, just like before, if you really want to make the battle go fast, just use Ken's Shuriken move in order to finish it off in only 1 or 2 hits. Once you've defeated Sigma, you can sit back and enjoy the ending. Just like we've seen in some of the other Mega Man games, we get a nice roll call of all the enemies that we fought throughout the game as Mega Man rides off into the sunset on his bike. Mega Man X2 may not be the best of the series, however, Mega Man X2 added just a few key gameplay changes from the original X that make the game still fun, exciting, and new, and a real joy to play. The X series would continue to evolve and give you more and more things to collect as the series would progress. However, X2 really didn't have too much of that and only added really one new thing that we didn't see from the original X, and that being the Zero parts. After we see all the enemy roll call as well as the power levels, we then get our Presented by Capcom screen as Zero blasted onto the screen. Interestingly enough, this screen is actually different had you not gotten all the Zero parts. You instead would see the fake Zero clone that Zero destroyed earlier on in the game, standing here in order to deliver the Presented by Capcom screen instead. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.